I'm not sure if I've mentioned this in a video before, but I love rally. There's something appealing about travelling at speeds of over 100 miles per hour, just inches away from trees, cliffs, and those pesky spectators who like to get a bit too close. Over the years, there have been quite a few games about the motorsport as well, such as Colin McRae Rally, Dirt, the official WRC games, and Sega Rally. So overall, we've never really been short on choice when it comes to what rally games to play, and those game franchises that I've just listed are the main ones that lasted years. If you look back at the genre, there have been a lot more rally games that have come and gone. Richard Burns Rally, Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo, Shocks, RalliSport Challenge, and Rally Fusion. The list goes on and on and on. But the game that I'm going to talk about today is one that looked like it would have been the start of a very successful franchise that never happened. It was developed by Milestone, a developer who was no stranger to rally games, having worked on a few of the WRC games and Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo. It was released in 2018, which didn't see that many rally game releases, with the main two being V-Rally 4 and Dakar 18. And going off the trailer, it looked like it would have been one of the best racing games in the 8th console generation. The game that I'm talking about is Gravel, which was released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, Linux, and then macOS 11 months later in 2019. I am playing the Xbox One version of the game, but played on a Series X. However, there are no Series console enhancements, which does bring me nicely onto my first point. I know that when a lot of people talk about this game, they compare it to Dirt 5, which I'm not going to do in this video for a few reasons. The games were developed clearly with two completely different budgets, and were sold at two different price points when new. Also, if I was to use Dirt 5 as a comparison, then I would be using the Xbox Series version of the game, as that is the one that I have been playing for a few years, and is the only version of the game that I have. So it would be unfair to compare the two games, as they would technically be in different console generations. But as usual, I will still compare the game's gameplay mechanics to older games. The main part of Gravel is the Off-Road Masters game mode, which is presented in a TV show format. It's not an original idea, with quite a few games using elements of a TV show before Gravel, and it is something that has been used since. I'm not really a fan of how it's been done in this game, mainly due to how cringy it is. But I am glad that the developers didn't go in the festival direction, as that was something that was getting a bit overdone, even by 2018. In a weird way, the Off-Road Masters game mode is kind of laid out like the first Forza Horizon, where you do a load of events, and then you have to do a one-on-one race where you get to keep the opponent's car if you win. It is also like Need for Speed Most Wanted and Carbon, but I didn't want to use a Need for Speed game for a comparison twice in a row. Overall, the structure of the career mode is very similar to a lot of other games, but with a few slight differences and packaged in such a way where it appears to be a unique experience. Even though if you scratch at the surface, you may notice that it shares a lot of similarities. The game has something similar to the skills point system that you would find in the Forza Horizon games, where you get points for driving fast, jumping, and drifting. Those points are then multiplied by 0.1 every time the game registers that you're doing something else, or when you're doing more than one jump or drift in quick succession. And once the game thinks that you're done collecting these skills points, it will then calculate how much you have earned. This is something that I think works really well in a game like this, especially as the points that you earn help you unlock new cars and liveries, which you get access to as you go through the career mode's levels. And that is because it's tied to the main progression of the game and not just a small part of it. The events are also something that seem like they've been heavily inspired by other games as well. Most of the event types in Gravel are straightforward, as you have circuit races, point-to-point races, and time trials, so I won't talk about them here, but I will talk about the elimination events. These events are not new, as they have been used in many racing games before, and to be honest, I hate them in most games. I have explained why I hate these kinds of events in other reviews. It's mainly due to how needlessly long they make the game, and at this point it feels like they are just there to pad out the gameplay instead of adding anything to it. But Gravel does these events better than most games, as instead of the car in last place being knocked out of the race after every lap, in this game it's after every 30 seconds or so, regardless if you're on to the next lap or not. This means you don't need to have as many laps, making the game less repetitive. It's also exactly how the elimination events were done in Dirt 2. And they're not the only events that feel like they could have been inspired by Dirt 2. Smash Up is a game mode where you have to do a lap of a track or go from point to point within a certain time, which sounds simple enough, but you have to do it whilst hitting the correct signs. Dot matrix boards will appear on the track. Some will have a green arrow, and others will have a red cross. You have to drive through the signs that have the green arrow, and if you drive through the other ones, your car will slow down, making it harder for you to complete the event in the allotted time. It is kind of like the Gatecrasher events in Dirt 2, but instead of having time added to your countdown, helping you complete the event in time, the Smash Up events will only take time away from you by slowing you down, and that does make it harder. The game overall is very easy. In fact, it is painfully easy, with the exception of one event near the end of the Off-Road Masters game mode. I was playing in the middle difficulty, which is something that I try to do for all of my reviews, as it gives a better indication to what the racing is like for players with varying skills. And I do think that hasn't come across very well in this video, because it looks like I played the game on a very easy difficulty. One of the things that I really like about Gravel is its physics, and although it can be more than just a bit janky at times, every car drives really nicely. It has an arcadey feel, which makes sense as it is an arcade racing game, but it doesn't feel too arcadey. I also like other parts of this game as well, such as the track selection. Gravel has a lot of track layouts based in 16 locations, without DLC. A lot of which you either never see or very rarely see in video games, such as Alaska, Mont Blanc, and Namibia. There's a couple of stadiums set in Florida and LA, the latter you may recognise from 3 of the 7th generation Dirt games. There are also quite a few rallycross tracks as well. I do like the track list in this game. The inclusion of locations that you don't see in other games means that most of the tracks feel different. And it's the same with the car list as well. Gravel has a wide variety of vehicles to choose from. You get all of the categories that you would expect to see in a game like this, such as Group 4, Group B, Group A, WRC without the license, Rallycross, Trophy Trucks, and Rally Raid T1 and T2. And just like the track locations, there are some vehicles that you either never see in video games, or if you do see them, it would be occasionally. You've got oddities such as the Vauxhall Astra Mark II, the Toyota 222D, and the Renault Duster Dakar, which are all really nice additions. Overall, what this game has in terms of career and racing had been done really well, especially when you consider the fact that, despite the short career mode, Gravel is a very good game. Sure, the premise is cringy with the whole Off-Road Masters TV show, the physics can be janky at times, and the game overall is a bit too easy, but Gravel does everything else just right. The career mode is laid out really well, the track and car lists are very diverse, with everything feeling like it belongs in the game. Gravel also has some of the best progression that I've seen in a rally game released in the past 20 years or so, and I recommend buying it, but only if it's on sale, as it's not worth what a lot of the online stores, or even the used physical media stores, sell the game for. However, whilst playing Gravel and writing the review, it was on the PlayStation Store for 90% off. And when that happens again, buy it. This has been my review of Gravel on the Xbox One, but played on the Series X via backwards compatibility. Like most games that you see me doing videos about, this game has been on my review list for years. I actually bought it about 3 years ago and left it on my game shelf without ever touching it. And I am a bit annoyed that I didn't play this game sooner, as most of it is really good. I don't know what game I'm going to do a review of next, but when I decide, I will mention it in the channel's community tab. But for now, it is time to end the video. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.